Welcome to the Phenomenal Wrestling Podcast. This is being recorded on July 5th, 2021. As usual, it's my co-host here, Ryan, and I'm Matt. Say hello, Ryan.
Hello, hello. Excited to dive in.
And we are recording this, as I said, the day after the 4th of July. Ryan, did you have a good 4th of July?
I did. It was pretty low-key, honestly. Just spend it hanging out with some friends and family. How about yourself?
Same here. Me and my girlfriend went to a party that her roller derby team was throwing. It was very low key.
Nice.
And as a vegetarian, it's always fun to go to these kinds of barbecues. I ended up eating a lot of seasoned corn and
Nice.
the best Rice Krispie treats anywhere in the world.
Wow, that sounds
half
incredible.
Peanut butter, half chocolate. The best thing I've ever eaten.
Wow.
They were so good.
That sounds amazing. I don't think I've had peanut butter Rice Krispies. That sounds really good.
It is. It'll change your
life. That's what it sounds like. Nice.
All right, but anyway, let's go ahead and get started here. The first thing we want to talk about today is Zelina Vega. She has returned to the WWE. Thea Trinidad, also known as Zelina Vega, got perhaps the most notoriety of her career when she allegedly stood up to the WWE and refused to give up her social media accounts in direct defiance of their policy regarding third-party companies. Again, this is all technically allegedly, so I'm just going to keep saying that. She has now returned to the WWE and had a match on SmackDown where she lost in 2 minutes to Liv Morgan. A bit disappointing to see that because everyone was wondering what she would do, but she was released in November and we just never heard of her going anywhere. AEW, Ring of Honor, Impact, she just seemed to go radio silent despite being so visibly standing up to the company, again, allegedly. I went and checked her Twitch channel, and perhaps I'm missing something there, but she hasn't been on stream since February, with all the recent videos on her channel being from her husband, Aleister Black, who also got released recently.
Right, yeah.
And I even went to her OnlyFans account, which was allegedly a big issue for WWE, and that just doesn't exist anymore. So, I don't know. She came back to SmackDown, lost in 2 minutes, and she's been absent from Twitch while also shutting down her OnlyFans. Is she towing the party line now? Is that what's going on? I mean, with the momentum that she had, she could have gone anywhere. So I can't imagine her going back to WWE without getting any sort of concessions out of them. So maybe she just got a big pay raise to stop making a stink about it.
Yeah. That's what it's sounding like. I did see one headline. I didn't read the article, to be honest, but it was that WWE did offer her an apology, and maybe that was enough to get her back. I don't know, but I doubt that. I bet a pay raise is involved for sure.
I mean, let's hope so. Because we both want WWE to be a better place for all wrestlers, but I'm just feeling kind of suspicious about what this return actually means. Is this a good thing for everyone who is trying to stand up against that? Is this the final nail in the coffin for any sort of resistance from the WWE staff against the draconian policies that the company has put in place?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, hopefully it helps having someone who's outspoken about unionization in the company. I hope that's a good thing, as opposed to just them, signing her so she doesn't talk about it. I don't know. I hope it's a good thing rather than a bad thing that, someone who's been so outspoken about unionization and other platforms, that they're in the company, so that hopefully, I don't know, some kind of spark can happen.
I mean, you got people who do have leverage there, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of people who are willing to put that on the line to make changes. And Zelina Vega, I mean, she wasn't the biggest person there, but she got a lot of publicity out of standing up to them, allegedly standing up to them. Again, the details on that are not privy to everyone in the world, but that seems to be the story that was told during that time. And this just seems to be the end of that on somewhat of a disappointing note, but we'll have to see what happens in the next few weeks, especially what Thea Trinidad says on like social media and in interviews stuff like that.
Yep.
I mean, she's probably not going to get a huge push. She wasn't the biggest star in the world even when she was there, but as long as she's still outspoken and it doesn't look like she is just towing the party line for like possibly a payday or something like that, then maybe there is some hope there, but we'll just have to keep an eye on it.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so from there, let's go ahead and move on to the AEW recap. This was the Dynamite from June 30th, 2021, and it's also going to be the last one in Jacksonville for a while, as they're going on to the road after this one.
Yeah, I thought the video they showed was pretty nice. Just kind of highlighting. Yeah, not to jump ahead, but yeah.
We will get to that video at the end. Don't you worry about that, because there's there was something very interesting about that ending of the episode. But let's jump way back to the beginning. Before even the opening match, Jericho comes out to a raucous rendition of Judas as he is joining the announce team for the show. Mostly to call the Sammy MJF match at the end of the night, but it's always fun whenever Jericho shows up.
Oh, yeah. And anytime the crowd gets into Judas is very fun. Very fun.
Yeah, and as the crowds get bigger, it's just going to get bigger and bigger as it goes on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and if that guy decides to retire anytime soon, I mean, he's got an easy seat in that booth.
Easily, yeah. I really look forward to whenever Jericho's on commentary.
So the first match of the night was the Young Bucks versus Eddie Kingston and Penta El Zero M in an AEW Tag Title Qualifier match. So the point of this is that if they win this match, they get a match later on for the actual title. You know, AEW rarely resembles WWE, and the few times it does, it's usually the good parts, like getting wrestlers from the past that people like, and occasionally a goofy celebrity spot. But this feud between the Bucks, Kingston, and Penta kind of resembles some of their worst tendency, which is the incessant 50-50 booking and running matchups into the ground, as these two teams have been fighting back and forth since the pay-per-view. Longer if you count the feud that Kingston and Moxley had with them leading up to the pay-per-view.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, even if you want to shake it up a little bit, you maybe have like a 1v1 featuring two of these wrestlers, you know, as opposed to the same match that you could possibly see the next week or whenever their title match would be for were they to win. You know what I mean?
Right.
It just some kind of shake up as opposed to just the same matches and like you said, the 50-50 booking, which is WWE, you know, logic at its finest.
Nutshell, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, to their credit, though, the matches have been improving,
the
Bucks are only getting more fun in their utter contempt for good taste.
Yes, that's right.
Case in point, the diseased rats they glued to their face that they are calling facial hair, with Nick in particular sporting what... when I first saw it, I thought he was doing the Seagal thing, but it's actually more of a Hogan stash. And that thing is drawing heat from the crowd all by itself.
Oh, yeah. It is a great... it's a great heel move.
Great look for the two.
Yes, 100%.
So aside from that, though, it's a pretty straightforward match with the heels getting the heat and the baby faces breaking free to run wild, rinse and repeat about 4 times. I mean, it's all good wrestling to be sure, but they aren't doing anything that we didn't see the last few times they locked up. Even if the really cool stuff like the Penta roll up into the DDT or when Kingston starts no-selling a bunch of kicks, they're cool, and we haven't seen those specifically in the last few matches. But again, the matchup being the same as it was the last few weeks, it just feels like it's diminishing returns at this point.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, you put the same 4 people in a match, and you keep having that same match, it might get a little old hat. But I don't know. I think these 4, I like watching them wrestle. So, you know, as long as they mix it up a little bit, then I'm fine with it. You know.
Penta did like a corkscrew destroyer or something?
Yeah,
I've
he did like
never
a
seen that before.
It was like a sunset flip corkscrew kind of thing. It was
perpendicular. Yeah. I don't know how the physics of that thing works.
Yeah.
like a Canadian destroyer is already wizardry to me. This is like 5 wizards like all at once.
The magic of 5 wizards all
exactly.
together.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yes, that was wild. That really was.
Yeah. And, you know, they go back and forth. They get some really cool near falls. But what it ultimately comes down to is that the Good Brothers eventually come out to heckle Kingston and Penta and distract the ref while Cutler runs out for the cold spray spot, which we saw last week, or maybe even the week before. But we've seen that a lot. And Matt Jackson has Penta in position, but Penta comes up with the brilliant tactic of ducking.
Yes.
And instead, Matt eats a bunch of the cold spray to the face, with Brandon Cutler apparently losing all motor skills and just keeps spraying him. Like, even Jericho points it out. Stop spraying, you idiot! So that was fun.
Yes, and for sure.
Frankie Kazarian runs out to take care of Cutler, which, I mean, just leave him alone. He was already doing enough damage
he was doing
as
great.
it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He was doing great for the faces.
Yeah, but I mean... He is awesome. Like, I was a little lukewarm on the Elite Hunter thing up until like a week or 2 ago. It is really starting to grow on me. Just Kazarian out there, it's his facial expressions for the most part. The way he is so self-satisfied with messing with these guys.
Yeah,
that's what puts the cherry on top for me.
No, definitely. Yeah, I've been lucky enough to have liked it for a while, and it's just getting better and better. I would say I'm a big fan of it.
Absolutely. Penta and Kingston finish off Matt Jackson with a pile driver and a back fist to get the pin and win the match, so they're going to get a title shot. I mean, if we hadn't seen this like 4 times already, this match would probably be amazing. And it is amazing in its own right. You look at it in isolation, it's got all the great moves in it and all that. And fingers crossed that the next one being a title match will add some gravitas, make it feel a little bit different.
Yeah.
So I am interested in seeing where that goes. What did you think?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the past few times I've been kind of complaining about how the Young Bucks just kind of get away with it and, they do their thing and then they get the win at the end. But this was a nice little inverse of what we've been seeing lately. So I'm pleased about that. Even if it, just sets up a Young Bucks, retaining, that's fine. At least they're starting to mix it up a little bit and, not every week or every match involving the Young Bucks ends with the Young Bucks cheating and winning, So at least it was something different and that's what I was asking for. So I was a fan of this for sure.
Do you want the title match to be a stipulation match? Usually that comes off as a big gimmicky, but if the Bucks are going to cheat anyway, hardcore rules, cage match, something like that to kind of lean into it.
Plus it would mix it up because we've seen this matchup so many times that I don't know if just having it be a title match is enough to differentiate it from the past matches, So I think that's not a bad idea at all.
Yeah,
a cage match would be perfect, I think.
Yeah, and Penta and Kingston were alluding to pretty much just that last week.
Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, I think that's a good idea. I wonder if they'll go for that.
Do we have a date for the title match? It's probably going to be on one of those event shows in the next 4 weeks.
Yeah, I don't know if they said, but it should be soon, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't think it's going to be something they're going to hold off until the pay-per-view.
No, definitely not. I would say you're right on that.
Yeah. Well, after that, we have Christian Cage in the back giving Jungle Boy a pep talk in preparation for his match tonight, and he assures us that the loss to Kenny Omega was only a step on a much larger journey. Luchasaurus then shows up to introduce himself to Cage. I don't know where he's been for the past few weeks.
I don't know where he's been either, yeah.
And last week, Christian Cage had the promo that made him sound a little bit sinister.
Right.
My concerns have kind of been assuaged because... If Luchasaurus gives you a thumbs up, that's gold in my book.
Yeah, that's a good sign. That's a good. He's got a good read on people. So yeah, Luchasaurus thumbs up is a pretty good sign.
Tony Schiavone and the Men of the Year, Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky, are in the ring, and we're supposed to be having an interview, but instead we get to hear the incessant booing of the crowd. I don't know. I'm a bit wary about that kind of thing because it did feel like we were just sitting there waiting for the crowd to be quiet to actually get along with this. Maybe I'm just too used to the more structured nature of the crowdless shows because it let them do a lot more story in that format. That's going to be a lot harder to do now that you got crowds shouting whenever they want to.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely made it hard for them to get get the goal of the promo across, but it's live wrestling. I was okay with it. But yeah, it's definitely going to be harder for a lot of wrestlers to cut promos, I think, if the crowd's just not into it.
So the promo was actually pretty good. Ethan Page reminds everyone that he's kicked Darby's butt all around Daly's place, but that's not enough for him because he needs to not only destroy him physically, but mentally as well in this coffin match. Yes, he wants to give Darby Allin the yips. If you don't know what that is, at least in the colloquial definition, the yips is basically where a athlete has some sort of injury, traumatic event, something that causes them to get anxiety when they play, and they can no longer play up to the level that they did before. And that's kind of what Ethan Page is really just kind of hammering in on. He wants Darby Allin to be questioning him after he loses this match. When he gets nailed into that coffin, he wants Darby Allin to be questioning himself every time he goes up for the coffin drop. Not only winning the match for him in the short term, but like basically destroying Darby's career. So that's actually a really interesting angle for it to take. And Ethan Page's kind of menacing, like crazy eye thing works with that kind of angle, and especially with this type of match, which like it's always kind of silly, but the implication is that this is a dreadful scenario.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, and I think it does. I think it added a little bit of heat to the match for me. Where I was like, okay, it added an interesting angle for Ethan Page. He wants to just seriously, almost jeopardize the career, not even just physically, but just mentally. I thought that was a really interesting angle to take.
Yeah, but I mean, he has his work cut out for him since a few pay-per-views ago, he got tossed around in a body bag. So, good luck to you, Ethan Page. Ethan Page.
Yeah.
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 Of course, at some point, the Sting's music hits. He comes out with Darby Allin in a coffin. Darby goes straight for Ethan Page's eye as well. Sting gives Scorpio Sky a scorpion death drop. And here's where things get a little bit weird. I didn't quite get what was going on here. Ethan Page is so flabbergasted by this assault that he calls off the casket match, or the coffin match, and might give him an opportunity to be in it if Darby Allin promises not to touch him in like the next few weeks.
Right.
I mean, Page is the one asking for the match, so I don't know what's really going on here. The only thing I can think of is that they had to move, like, I think they may have announced a date for it, and for whatever reason they have to move it back. But honestly, I don't need an explanation for a match being moved back. This just kind of makes Page's motivation seem a little bit weird.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think that's what happened is they had to push it back for some reason, and so they tried to come up with some kayfabe way to do that. It just seemed kind of like, especially after the promo that he cut, it seemed kind of odd that he wants him to sign a contract now. So I don't know. I think you're right. I think they needed to push the the match back. But yeah, it just that part didn't really work for me at all.
After that, we have Jungle Boy versus Jack Evans, which is basically a mirror to a match we got a few weeks ago where Christian Cage fought Angelico, who was fighting on behalf of Matt Hardy, and so Jungle Boy is here fighting the other half of TH2. They made a mention that this was also going, if Jungle Boy won, this was going to be his 50th match milestone, or 50th win milestone. Did you care when that happened? Was that something that kind of meant anything?
I thought it was cool. I do like the AEW tactic, I guess, of counting wins and losses, but I mean, yeah, I thought it was cool, and I thought that Jungle Boy getting the 50 first is pretty notable for him, I would say, in a career that's already had some big moments. So I don't know, I think it was neat, but I didn't go nuts for it for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it might have helped if they were building up to it over the past
yeah,
weeks.
Exactly. It seems like something that someone just found out and they're like, oh, cool.
Yeah,
let's mention this. Yeah,
give JR this factoid to say.
Exactly. That's what I feel like happened.
So it was a lot like the Christian Cage match, only instead of a submission technical style, this was definitely more of a high-flying thing. There's no doubt that Jungle Boy is good at flipping, but Jack Evans has been flipping for about as long as he's been alive.
Right.
So it's pretty clear right away that Evans is going to meet him blow for blow here, keep him from running away with it, at least at first. The Jack Evans' issue, at least in the match, is that he can't really get any offense in, so eventually he just gets tired of blocking Jungle Boy's moves, and he's just having to play defense the entire match.
Right. Yeah, I think that describes it perfectly. Yeah, I mean, it basically withstood the offense the whole time, and then Jungle Boy hit him with a big lariat, right? And then puts him away.
Well, and then there was this one spot that was like the last desperation spot for Jack Evans where he did that. I've never seen this before. A spider German suplex. I mean, it looks really cool, but it leaves him so open. Like, Jungle Boy flips over and lands on his feet, so he doesn't sell the German suplex.
Right.
And now Jack Evans is sitting there upside down and just eats a kick from Jungle Boy.
Yeah, that was a bit silly.
Yeah. So that was fun. Eventually, Jungle Boy gets the snare trap, and Jack Evans taps out. Immediately, all hell breaks loose as Hardy Family Office runs out with Lucha, Jurassic Express not far behind them. Jungle Boy and Jurassic Express try to hold off Private Party and TH2, so at least they don't just disappear out of nowhere, while Christian Cage and Matt Hardy are fighting it out in the ring.
Yeah, it was a nice little schmoz to end it. I liked it because I liked how many parties were involved, honestly. I thought it made it seem like a bit of a mess in a good way, I would say.
Well, I like that the baby faces came out on top, because often these schmozzes end with heels standing tall. But Christian Cage, he chokes Matt Hardy with his own jacket at one point, and does he land? He doesn't land his kill switch this time. I think they're saving that one.
Yeah, I don't think he did.
Yeah. So, I mean, but we're definitely heading towards a Cage Hardy match at some point. And I'd be interested to see how that goes. When was the last time Matt Hardy actually fought a match? Was it the pay-per-view with the Hardy compound rules or whatever it was?
Yeah, it might have been. I think it might have been.
The last one.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, these days it looks like Matt Hardy, it hurts him to walk, I think. So I get when he doesn't have matches all the time, for sure.
Yeah, especially with the matches he had at AEW.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
MJF is in the back and cuts a promo, not on Sammy Guevara, but on Jericho, which seems like an odd thing to do considering he's supposed to be facing Sammy tonight in the main event.
Right. Not the best way to build. Great way to build the Jericho match, but not a great way to build the Guevara match for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he's basically pulling the Cody thing again, where he's going to give Jericho a list of stipulations before he'll have the match. But, I mean, the promo is like, clearly whatever happens in this match isn't going to affect next week's stipulation thing. So we're already moving forward ahead of it before we even get to it. It was a bit of a weird promo.
It was weird. It was a weird promo. I would definitely agree. I kind of had the same thoughts while watching. I was like, don't you have a match tonight with Sammy Guevara?
I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense for MJF to be completely discounting Sammy.
Yeah, that's true.
Sammy should have had some sort of response or something in the show to build it back up, to bring the attention back on the match.
Right. Be like, don't look past me at Jericho. You got me to deal with.
Exactly. Yeah. We cut to Andrade, who's being interviewed by Alex Abrahantes about the kerfuffle that occurred in last week's show, where Andrade came out in the middle of a match. I don't know what he was expecting to happen, but of course he got blown off by Matt Sydal, and now they're going to have a match. So hey, whatever it takes to get him in the ring.
Yeah, really. I'm cool with whatever build gets Andrade back in the ring. I just love Andrade. I think Matt Sydal is a great, a great first match. He's a veteran. He's entertaining. I think they'll put on a great match.
He is one of the best people at the company to win a match against. He is so good, but he's also really good at making the other person look good. And, he can lose a million times. I don't think anyone's going to care, but it's still going to look impressive that the other guy won.
Absolutely. I think it's a perfect first match for Andrade for those reasons. Yeah, 100%.
Tony Schiavone is in the ring and calls out Kenny Omega, more or less to brag once again about how great he is. However, Kenny has beaten pretty much everyone at AEW, which means there is no one left to challenge him. So while he may have a smile on his face as he says this, I can't help but feel there might be a twinge of sadness there. And lo for Alexander Webb, for there were no worlds conquer.
Yeah, that's right.
That's not entirely true. There. Yeah, but it's not entirely true because he's just going to go to the other companies who may offer a better challenge to him. I don't know who at Impact is. Who's lined up in Impact to face him?
I believe Sami Callihan.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, he's probably never going to lose to someone at Impact, and that's just part of the deal.
No.
But I hear those matches are pretty good, so I might want to check them out at some point. And he's also got the AAA belt still, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. I thought he's still going to wrestle Andrade for that, I believe.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I believe he's going to wrestle. When is that match? I'll check out when that match is.
Well, that's weird when you got two guys in the same company avoiding each other.
It's going to be a Triple Mania.
When's Triple Mania?
Triple Mania is going to be on August 14th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you able to get that show in the U.S.? Can we get a pay-per-view?
That's a good question. Yeah, we can figure that out.
We will look into that.
Yeah, for sure.
But this promo ended up being probably the best thing on the night, at least promo-wise. Definitely promo-wise, it was the best thing on the night.
Yeah.
Because as Kenny Omega is bragging here, the Dark Order come out and remind Kenny that there is one person still out there that he hasn't beaten since becoming champ. And if you couldn't tell who they were talking about, the crowd starts chanting cowboy swear word, while Evil Uno Corley refers to the Hangman Adam Page. We talked about how the Adam Page storyline was one of the best things that AEW has going for it. Yeah. And it looks like the Dark Order is forcing it to come to a head to the consternation of Kenny Omega, who actually has a valid point here in that there's no way that Page asked them to come out and speak on his behalf.
Right.
So this is what I wanted to know if they were going to do with the Dark Order. Were they going to enable him so that he would stay with them at their level and continue being their friend? Or are they good enough friends that they're going to recognize what he needs to do next, even if he doesn't feel that's what he needs to do, even if he's in denial about it? And they went the right way with it. The Dark Order are behind Hangman 100%, even if Hangman isn't behind him himself.
Yeah.
And that's great.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that's the best way to go. I mean, if like you said, I think there were two options they could have gone with, and I think they absolutely chose the right option for the story that the Dark Order and that Hangman have had for it's been like the better part of a year, right?
Oh, I mean, there was that Twitter thread that someone did earlier this week where they explained it from the very beginning of, even before AEW, how this is an ongoing storyline since then.
Yeah, so I think they chose the right way. I'm loving this build. I really am.
And
I think
Kenny
it's
Omega is
yeah,
great here.
he really is.
His disdain for Adam Page is palpable. And
Yes.
I want to know what's going to happen when they meet face to face. Is Kenny Omega or is Hangman Adam Page going to rise to the challenge and they're going to have a match? Or does something else need to happen for Hangman to take this challenge? Because we see later in the show that Hangman is not happy with the Dark Order for what they did. So it's up to him to decide, is he going to face this challenge or not? And if he doesn't, I'm sure something bad is going to happen to probably the Dark Order that'll finally push him to taking the match.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. I think some kind of clash between the Dark Order and the Elite is going to lead to the Dark Order being beaten up a bit. So I think something's going to push Page beyond just wanting the gold. It's going to push him into action for sure. And I think that's a great way to build it.
After that, we have Miro versus Brian Pillman Jr. in the TNT title match. Miro has new theme music, and I don't know about you, but it sounds an awful lot like Drew McIntyre's theme, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I didn't listen to it much afterwards, but just on first listen, it really did. Yeah. I know he was working with, who's the person who does the AEW music, like Mikey Ruckus or something?
Oh, I have no idea.
Yeah, I think his name's like Mikey Ruckus, but yeah, apparently he worked with Miro to get this new theme, and apparently it might evolve over time, which is kind of an interesting concept.
They're definitely going for a more serious approach, aside from Miro going, "Best, I'm the best." Yeah. I like that theme song, but I think they're trying to set him up as more of a serious killer, which he proves in this match. Pillman comes out strong, but it doesn't take long for Miro to completely ground him and tear him apart piece by piece.
Yeah, I mean, I think Pillman's, green enough that it's not going to hurt him moving forward, but it just does show that Miro is just, he's kind of on another level right now. And yeah, so it's I think Pillman tried to do a little comeback, but just got cut off immediately. Yeah.
Let me ask you this: when Miro locked in the game over, there was a spot where he rolled back. Was that Miro trying to apply more pressure, or was that Pillman trying to roll out of it?
No, I think it's Miro. I've seen it a few times where I think it's Miro. Miro's like, it's the finisher of the finisher almost. Okay. Where it's just like that's the most that he can get you locked in that. So I think that's the implication there.
And they gave Pillman the pass out finish instead of the tap out, which always makes people look stronger. Yes. Even though it's been done a lot, so maybe it doesn't have the same effect as it once did. But that's always been a babyface thing, where if you want a babyface to lose to a submission, you let him pass out.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't want them to look weak somehow. So yeah, you just make them pass out.
Yeah. So the reign of Miro continues unabated, but even if everyone is going to crumple like a paper cup in his mighty fist, these matches are still entertaining. They are. I don't think this is going to make Pillman the way that last week's match did for Jungle Boy, but Miro didn't bury the dude in the process, despite his whole gimmick being the overwhelming force that he has. And I really hope the Varsity Blondes continue to get more time on Dynamite. Those guys are awesome. Yeah,
I think they will. I think, like you said, it's not going to do what it did for Jungle Boy losing to Kenny last week, but I think not a lot of, there's probably, you can count on one hand the people who could actually beat Miro in AEW at this point. So, Pillman wasn't going to beat him, and I think it's not going to hurt him that much either.
We cut to a very incomplete Team Taz, where Taz himself finally admits that everything isn't going so well for them. Brian Cage and Ricky Starks are not there. This bad blood between them needs to end. So as a way to clear the air and get it all out of their system, he has set up a match for the FTW title between Brian Cage and Ricky Starks in 2 weeks, which is pretty surprising, as I figured Ricky Starks would be on the shelf for much longer given his neck injury.
Yeah. Yeah, that was surprising.
Medically cleared. Yeah, that came out of nowhere. I was surprised by that. But apparently he's medically cleared. I don't know. I can't argue with doctors. It just seems really soon for that.
It does seem quite soon. Yeah. So hopefully that goes okay.
All signs point to Brian Cage leaving the group, but do you think this is the match that is going to do it? Do you think that Team Taz is going to turn on Cage at some point in this match and let Ricky win?
I think they will, or at least they'll try. I don't know if it will succeed. I think they want to build Cage as, a monster, right? So I wouldn't be opposed to him winning and just kind of continuing to carry that belt even without Taz's permission, essentially. You know what I mean?
Well, where does he go from here? Does he just feud with Team Taz for a few weeks?
I don't know. Yeah, I think that's probably the plan. It gives them both something to do, and it still has some emotional weight, I guess, because it's something that's been building towards for a while. So I think that's what's going to happen.
I do want to see him face Will Hobbs. That will be awesome.
That would be awesome. Yep, that will definitely be awesome. And I think Will Hobbs should be the one to take that title from him. I know it's unsanctioned, but I really like that title.
Oh, that would actually be a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that would give Hobbs a good rub without really hurting Cage that much, because Hobbs is a monster. He's great.
Yeah, definitely. Okay.
Yep.
Nyla Rose and Vicky Guerrero versus Britt Baker and Rebel. It was fine. I only looked at my phone for half of it, but let's never do this again.
Yeah, I mean, the less said about it, the better. It was, it was fine. I mean, Vicky's not really a wrestler. Rebel doesn't really wrestle that often, does she?
No, she was in TNA for a little bit, and then she was never a particularly good wrestler.
Right.
Even,
so it's
even
just
in her
like,
prime.
this was set up to not be great. So, I did like after the match though.
I don't know. This was such the work was okay for what it was, but the psychology here, the story, I don't know who this helps, and I feel like it kind of hurts Nyla more than anything else.
Okay.
The crowd kept... So Nyla and Vicky are the ostensible baby faces, but the crowd kept cheering for Britt Baker.
Yeah.
And even they even cheered for Rebel at one point over Nyla Rose. Nyla Rose carried a lot of this match, but it was her decision at the end to let Vicky in that caused them to lose. You know, she was in the lead. She even had Baker dead to rights with that giant chokeslam, but Vicky got in, and immediately Baker put her in the lockjaw. So, you know, Nyla doesn't look great coming out of that. And then after the match, like a sore loser, she and Vicky put Britt Baker through a table.
Right.
So what's going on here? I don't know.
I don't know. I wonder if the crowd reaction, if they call it some kind of audible, and they were like, hey, look, it seems like Britt Baker is kind of the baby face here, according to the crowd at least.
You think she could work as a baby face without changing her gimmick at all?
That's a good question. I think she's talented enough to pull that off, to be honest. I think she could do that.
I mean, it's the weird thing where it's kind of like a smart mark thing going on there, where you know who the best one is, and so you want to cheer for them even if it goes against the storyline.
Exactly.
So I guess you can basically do whatever you want with that person. You don't have to worry about, are they going to be too dark? Like John Cena, he never went heel because they were worried about merchandise sales going down and all that. Yeah. But in this era, do you think? I mean, he was never really a crowd favorite anyway, but I would have been interested to see that, but I don't think even he would have been able to pull off being a heel. While Britt Baker, I mean, she's been a heel the whole time, but the crowd still loves her. So
yeah, I kind of liken it to I feel like Kevin Owens has done it a lot during his career, where he's been essentially a heel who gets face reactions essentially. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I think
Kevin Owens
it's doable.
Is a good example there. He is so back and forth. The only time you know when he's a heel is when he's whining.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the true heel behavior for wrestling fans, I think, is when you start whining. But if you're I don't know, if you're doing dastardly things and you're still getting cheered, I don't know. I think
that's a good position to be in.
Yeah, that's not too bad.
There was a Inner Circle promo after that. It kind of just flew over my head. Hager and Proud and Powerful are going to have a match against, was it Sean Spears or Wardlow with FTR?
I kind of missed it. I don't remember.
Well, there's going to be a 6-man tag match next week.
Yeah.
The feud will continue. It will
it
never
will.
end. Never end.
Yeah.
And speaking of the feud, we have the main event, MJF versus Sammy Guevara. This match, I think it started fantastically. It crackled with like lightning. Kind of sagged a little bit in the middle, not too much, just a tiny bit in the middle, and then came to an explosive end at the end. I thought this was a fantastic match.
I did too. I really like these two. I mean, it's basically the future of the company right here.
Absolutely.
So I was a huge fan. I was looking forward to this match, and I think like you said, a little soft in the middle, but then really exploded towards the end. And I was a big fan of it. Do you think not sorry if you're going to address this later, but do you think MJF is actually hurt?
No.
No, you don't think so? I hope not. That would really, I would hate for this to get dragged on to some more while he heals his knee. That'd be a shame. But yeah,
it plays too much in the story.
Yes.
I felt it plays too much in the story for it to be a legitimate injury.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I think that's fair.
And he's done fake injuries in the past, the neck brace and all that.
Yep. Yeah. No, I think you're right. It's just something I thought about where I was like, oh no, that'd be the worst case scenario, really.
And also on top of that, the announcers made sure to let you know that normally this guy fakes it. It doesn't look like he's faking it this time. That to me sounds like it was a worked injury or whatever it was.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The opening minutes of this match, like, it reminded me of when MJF and Jungle Boy had their thing going back and forth, where they're just, it's like two amazing sword fighters doing feint after feint after feint after feint. They're they get like 10 near falls with like maybe one or two punches thrown in the entire time. It was like back and forth, dodging, flipping, pinning, rolling, all sorts of cool stuff, and the crowd went nuts for it.
Yeah, it was really great to watch. I mean, you could tell the crowd was into it. Chants of "this is awesome." They really gave it their all. I mean, you could tell this was a main event type match.
Yeah, and definitely, like, after the first few minutes, MJF throws Sammy into the guardrail, which is where, like, the transition point to, okay, now let's actually hurt each other now.
Right.
The middle rope Spanish Fly, the springboard Canadian Destroyer. He gets a bunch of "this is awesome" chants. This is the one spot that kind of threw me off, which was when MJF grabs the chair. He's holding it in front of his face the entire time. He can't see where he's going. The only reason you would do that is to set up for Sammy to kick him in the face.
Kick you in the face. Absolutely, yeah. It's classic wrestling logic. It's just walk like that with a chair in front of your face to be like, well, luckily no one's actively seeking to kick me in the face,
And there were a few scary spots in here. Sammy lands that senton from the top rope over to MGF, who is over the barricade. If he had gone a little short, he would have landed back first on that steel.
Right.
That wouldn't have been fun.
Nope.
And, oh my God, the one that actually, like, these guys are professionals. They know what they're doing. Occasionally I'll see a thing where it's like, I hate you now because you did that.
Yeah.
The middle rope tombstone. Pile driver.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
That's brutal.
That was terrifying.
Yeah. It just, that looks killer. It really does.
Yeah, and just like, I would rather take more fakey looking stuff, like, like Superman punches and stuff like that, over things that we know can kill people, can hurt people so badly if not done right.
Yes.
Like, if I'll give WWE credit for one thing, they do have a few things where they will say, you can't do this anymore. And tombstone pile drivers, they let, like, Kane and Undertaker do that. That was basically it. They kind of laxed on it a bit in recent years, but I do like that they do have a few things where it's like, let's not do this to keep people more safe.
Yeah, that makes sense. But it seems like AEW at this point, they'll do anything.
And darn the consequences, too, because we've had a lot of injuries.
Yeah, that's so true.
But thankfully, as far as we could tell, no injuries here. And okay, you mentioned the MJF's knee thing.
Yeah.
You know what? Maybe I'm wrong here because you can never really tell what's gonna hurt someone. Like, I think the adage is the move you're trying to do, the safest is the one that's gonna kill you.
Right.
I don't know how he would have blown out his knee doing a tombstone pile driver, but that's what he sells as soon as he lands the tombstone on Sammy Guevara. Sammy then gets a 630 senton, which here's MJF's superpower. Like, this is what gets him so much heat, is that he is a whiny little jerk who will beg and plead and all that stuff, but he no-sells like the Fiend.
Yes.
He will take any damage and still manage to kick out.
Yeah, I think superpower is the best way to put it. I think it's such a great way to get heat as a heel. Is just absolutely not selling.
You want it, you can taste it, it's on the tip of your tongue, and nope, he denies it to you each and every time.
Yep, it's a pretty great way to draw heat.
And as soon as MJF kicks out of the 630 senton, Shawn Spears comes out from the back. Jericho leaves the announce table to try and stop him, but oh no! Wardlow comes from behind and throws Jericho off the stage.
Yep.
In the confusion, Spears gets a chair and bashes Sammy over the head with it. I predicted the Dynamite Diamond Ring, instead it's a chair shot.
Yep.
So, and MJF just barely gets his arm over Sammy, and the ref counts the pin.
Yeah.
We've seen screwjob finishes in recent weeks. I like this a lot more than most of them. I'm still trying to put my finger on why, because maybe it's because it went on for a bit and there was efforts to try and stop it instead of just, Colt's right, done.
Yep. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's true. I mean, and also I think Sammy and Sean Spears have had a little bit of history as well, right? But just in this feud alone.
That's right. He pinned him at the Stadium Stampede.
Exactly. So I like that aspect of it. If this feud's going to continue, I think that's a smart way to do it.
And so that's how the match ends. The episode ends with a video of Jacksonville because they're going to be leaving there. This is the last episode for a while, and, it was nice and all that. But the thing that people are probably going to remember about it is JR saying WWE Dynamite right at the end, right as the screen goes
I think
black.
I might have missed that. Oh, wow.
Yeah, he sent out a tweet saying, "I get it, I messed up, and all that. I am not retiring."
That's good that he cleared that up.
Yeah. Good old JR.
Good old JR, absolutely.
I will take a million gaffes from that guy because he is so good at what he does.
Yeah, I'll always love JR. I'll always defend JR for sure. I didn't even catch that. Wow, that's tough.
It was very last second, so it could have been easy to miss. But I was watching the end of the episode. Oh, that's nice. Daily Space. Wait, what did he say?
Yeah, that's funny.
So final episode in Daly's place for a while. It looked like they pulled out a lot of the stops. There were still a few meh matches, mostly the Nyla Rose and Britt Baker one. But that final match, the crowd was standing for it. They were cheering. That was a great way to end it.
Definitely. I think it was a great way to end with, two of the future stars and honestly current stars, just kind of throwing it all out there and sending everybody home happy, I would say.
And that'll do it for AEW Recap. This week we have a fun video that we watched. Now, Ryan, the clip where you're going to... Okay, let me go ahead and just introduce it. The clip where you're talking about today is from April 9th of 2012, where the Three Stooges showed up on WWE Raw to promote the new movie that was coming out. We have Chris Diamantopoulos playing Mo Howard and Sean Hayes playing Larry Fine, who both come to the ring and wonder where Curly is, who is played by Will Sasso. At this point, Hulk Hogan's music hits, and out comes Curly in full Hulkamania garb, who comes to the ring and cuts a promo for their movie before Kane comes out and slams Curly while Mo and Larry run away. We have not talked about this. I don't know what your thoughts are. I sent you the clip, and we have not discussed it yet. So just let me go ahead and get my thoughts out there. I'm going to give you my hot take, and then I want to hear what you thought about it, if you think I am losing my mind here. This was awesome. I love this clip. I love these guys. And the fact that the crowd was not into it, it just broke my heart. The 2012 Three Stooges movie is so underrated because if you're a Stooge fan, it captures the essence of those original shorts, and the three leads are just astonishingly good in the roles. I never would have thought anyone could pull off Larry Fine, but there's Sean Hayes, the guy from Will and Grace, I will remind you, giving a pitch-perfect impersonation of the guy. And, when you watch it, all three of them, you just forget you're not watching the original guys. Mo Howard, Larry Fine, Curly Howard, real name Jerome Howard, and it's like they're alive again. And so when they come out here, just like in the movie, they're nailing it. Chris Diamantopoulos is dragging Sean Hayes by his nose and tosses him into the ring. Will Sasso, who is such a great impressionist, does a perfect Hulk Hogan impersonation while still in character as Curly. And he takes that choke slam like a champ.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine the crowd went in cold, not knowing that these guys were going to come out at some point, and I'm not sure what they were expecting. And I don't know. What do you think? Did you like the segment?
Yeah. Honestly, the fact that the crowd... I did. First of all, I did like this.
Okay.
Honestly, the fact that the crowd wasn't into it made me respect the performers even more, because they're just... You can just tell they're absolute gamers. They're absolute pros. And they're just like Will Sasso is just getting nothing from the crowd.
Oh, he's so good.
And he is doing everything he can. He's selling it so much. He's looking around like Hulk Hogan would look around. And he's just doing everything he can to elicit some kind of reaction. And they know they're bombing. They know it's not even their fault that they're bombing. It's just the crowd doesn't want to see the Three Stooges, I guess. But I really respect these performers. Plus, I like all three. I mean, I love Will Sasso. Just from his days on Mad TV.
Yeah.
And so, just honestly, respect to these three performers and respect to Will Sasso for taking a chokeslam from Kane.
Oh, absolutely.
I
There
think that
was one guy, I watched it again, and there was one guy in the crowd who was into it. He was
Good.
on, like, the corner section, and just the whole time, he was, like, in an orange shirt, and he was just flexing the whole time.
Nice.
He loved it.
I'm happy. I'm happy for that guy. I hope he enjoyed it. Yeah, but respect to these three, honestly. Yeah, like
Absolutely.
you said, really good Three Stooges impressions also.
If you haven't seen that movie, I would recommend it. It is just so quintessential to what the Three Stooges were. It feels like a genuine update to the material instead of just a reimagining trying to retool it. They don't retool anything. It is like old school to the nines.
Nice.
And just, I thought it was a fun segment. And
I did too. I think at the time I would have said it was like, oh, this is the worst of the guest host era. But you know what? They gave it their all. You got to respect it.
And I mean, there is that. I don't think anyone was really expecting the Three Stooges movie to do well. It barely made its budget back at the box office, so not a lot of people saw it. So it is, underrated in that sense. And so, you got these guys coming out trying to promote a bad-looking movie. I guess I can see why you wouldn't be into it, but in hindsight, just looking at it now, these guys were so great at it, and they nailed it, And Kane did his part as well. He just came out there looking very upset, and there's that interaction where Kane is just kind of standing there fuming while Will Sasso is doing all the curly mannerisms, the little finger things, the wind-ups, and chokeslam, he's down.
Yep.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Pretty great. And the other Stooges running away from the ring is pretty great, too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. They're all cowards,
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, big fan of this segment, for sure.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I think that will do it for this episode of the Phenomenal Wrestling Podcast. We'll be back again next week to talk about next week's episode of AEW Dynamite and anything else that comes up during the week. But until then, just keep watching wrestling and keep being phenomenal.